Hi, folks. Welcome to episode 14 of season 2 of the Lemons and Pineapples podcast. Today's topic of conversation is creativity and career change with my guest, Tineke Tammes. First, a bit about Tineke. She is a career and creativity coach, and she helps professional women to create fulfilling work and happy careers with her Career Freedom Coaching Program. In her approach, she focuses on unlocking your creative brain, on creating clarity around what you want, and on taking determined and confident steps forward in making it a reality. She is a lifelong feminist, a part-time portrait artist, a never only read one book at a time reader, and obsessive doodler and community host. Welcome to the podcast, Tineke.
Thank you, Emma. Nice to be here.
I can certainly relate to reading multiple books at a time. So I have a really horrible book buying habit. So thankfully here in South Africa, there are quite a few secondhand bookshops. So and some of them are online. So I can feed the book addiction without breaking the bank. But yes, a little bit obsessive about books as well. So it's good to be in good company.
The library is my favorite place.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. What book are you reading, or what books are you reading at the moment?
I have forcibly stopped myself reading 3 books at a time for the moment. I'm reading a terribly boring book on marketing at the moment. After that, I
Oh,
am allowed 3 others.
okay. Good for you. Good for you. I
Yes,
see
I
we've got a task and then a reward when you complete it. Very good.
Yes, I read literally everything to do with neuroscience, with psychology, with creativity, and that's my bag really. That's the things I really love reading about. And also I'm fascinated by the connection between your body and your brain and
Yeah.
how all of that works together. So yeah, that's
Yeah.
my. Uh,
It's brilliant. I love it. I love it. We've got similar taste in non-fiction books, and then I like to mix it in with a Patricia Cornwell just before I go to sleep,
yeah,
because who
same.
doesn't need a bit of mass murder to read about to get a peaceful night's sleep? Right, I digressed before we've even started. So,
Yes.
as somebody who identifies as a creative, I've been a photographer for 20 years. I 100% agree that thinking outside the box is essential to setting yourself up for a fulfilling life and a career. I can't really imagine any other way of doing it. So I'm excited to have this conversation with you because I get the sense that you're working with a lot of women who are not necessarily in a creative space and who need to really activate their creative brain, whereas we have a creative over here who has to activate that left brain a bit more often. So how would you define creativity?
Yeah, so I mean, if you look at the definition, it is something like, using your imagination or ideas to bring something new into the world. I spoke to a number of my customers about this, and I said, "What does creativity mean to you?" And it's much wider than that. It is when you say creativity, a lot of people say, "Oh no, but I'm not creative," and what they mean is they don't pick up a paintbrush on a regular basis. Um, and that is one aspect of it, absolutely. So art and craft and beauty and excellence is one part of it. The other part is also about problem solving and ideas and being innovative. But there is also a real well-being and mental health aspect to creativity as well. And finally, I think creativity is also about choosing to matter, choosing to be to um, choosing to matter, choosing meaning, choosing to say this what I do is important. It might not be to everyone else, but it is to me. So that is what my clients have been telling me, that it is all of that. Yes, there's a business element to it, and there is a creative element, but it's all of that.
Yeah, a big part of that I hear in there is doing work and living on purpose, with meaning, with fulfillment. And that is a feeling that we have. And you only know when you're doing that when you feel that you're doing that, I think.
Yeah.
And I think that's, you know, you talking about the reading about the brain body connection. I think a lot of people are numb from the neck downwards, has been my experience. A
Yeah.
lot of what I do, I mean, I'm a life coach, is helping people really get back into their bodies and how they feel and what they want. Because
Yeah.
a lot of people, a lot of the women that I coach have, for whatever reason, shut off from what they want. And
Yeah.
I can ask them and they don't actually know. And
And yeah, and that's exactly right. I mean, you talked about you being a creative. The women that I work with have sort of drifted into a career 15, 20, 25 years doing, you know, doing stuff that you have to do in corporate roles, and at home they're running after their kids, or you know, have to do the things they've got to do. Some people say to me, just like you just said, you know, some people say to me, I don't even know what I like doing anymore. Or one client said, you have made me feel again. Um, and that, you know, they lose that. They lose that complete connection between your body and your brain, a
yeah,
connection between your left and your right brain, if you want to say it like that,
yeah,
and therefore lose that creativity. And what I found with my own career change journey was, you know, you spend so much time implementing other people's ideas that you forget what yours are.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, and my next question for you was going to be, what gets in the way of creative thinking? And I think we've covered some of the things here. So I'd be interested for you to take this a bit deeper. You know, we've talked about being in a job where you're doing other people's stuff,
Mm,
being in a life that you, and I think this happens so gradually, you don't notice
yeah,
that you slip very slowly down the slope into routine and settling. And it's only when you kind of hit the bottom and you sit and go, how the hell did I arrive in this life that I don't like? I don't think I took an active part in deciding this. And it's happened to me because I've not been
yeah.
getting in touch with what's happening around me. I've not been actively making choices. I've not been listening to myself. So that sounds like it's a big part. We have a crossover there, which I love in what we do.
Mm.
So to get people thinking more creatively, what do they have to get past? What's the block in front of that?
Yeah, so I think, I mean, our over reliance on our logical brain, as you say, comes gradually, is sometimes valued higher. You know, you can think your way to any solution. So that's what we do. We can strategize with the best of them, and we can plot our way from A to Z. You know, no problems whatsoever. And you have started to rely on that logical brain so much because it helped you. It is a coping mechanism and it is being rewarded as well. So no wonder you're relying on it and you don't trust your creative brain anymore. I mean, for a start, it is a really murky process, isn't it? I mean, your ideas only come up when you're in the shower or when you're going for a walk or doing
Mhm.
something where you preferably don't have a piece of paper to hand. And that is what happened. It's a misty, murky process. And you can't command it, which means that people stop trusting it, you know, they stop trusting it. They stop trusting that they are creative. And that means, you know, you are starting then to rely on your logical brain only, and you start becoming fearful. You start fearing failure, fearing success sometimes, fearing that you look ridiculous. There is things like, you know, sometimes you don't understand the problem you're trying to solve, because the problem is this big. It's, it's your life. It's not just, oh, I'm in the wrong job. And even that is you can still pull apart. So you don't understand which problem you're actually trying to solve. Sometimes you don't have the information because you've
Mm-hmm.
lived in a box.
Mm-hmm.
Your world has become smaller and smaller and smaller, which means that you only see what you can see. And that then means that you don't have any ideas, and you don't have the access anymore to your creative brain because you haven't been trusted it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think from my own experience, the more you try to be creative, the more it almost runs away and hides. And creativity needs space for it to come out. So, like you've said, ideas tend to come in the shower, which is incredibly frustrating. So, I often keep a pen and paper somewhere close by when I'm getting ready in the morning, because if I've provided I've made the time to meditate, which I try to do, especially if I'm kind of mulling something over, the chances are, when I get in the shower, I'll be like, ding, there's a really great idea. Thanks. But
Yeah.
that's the thing, it pops up when it's given room, and it needs to be nurtured almost. I think the way I'm very visual with how I see things, is it's almost like a small child that needs to be looked after. It's a small sensitive child. You can't yell at it,
Yeah.
you can't chase it, because it'll
Yeah.
just go and hide under a table. And that is very frustrating. And what I hear from what you've said, as well as a lot of the people you're coaching, have reached a space where they're very overwhelmed. And overwhelm is like the biggest creativity killer there is. So I'm interested to hear more about how you work with your clients to help them get from this space where they can't access their
Yeah.
creativity to really getting back in touch with it again.
Yeah, so I mean, at the beginning of us starting to talk, you talked about my career freedom program, which is sort of the program that I support people with, women with, and creativity is really a golden thread throughout, because I almost look at it as an unthawing, where people really start to get in touch with who they are, what they like, in what they want. So I help them throughout the program with, getting curious, um, making one of my clients called it a love list,
Mm-hmm.
a long list of all the things that you love doing, and then go and actually do these things. These are things that help you unfreeze and to really go and find out who you are and what you want. But what I have found as well is there is more going on in the beginning. So what I mean by that is sometimes women have real trouble accessing that part of their brain, which is why I put quite a lot of emphasis on that first part, on that recovering of your creative brain. Once a year I run the Artist's Way group,
Mm-hmm.
which is what you are, I think, relating to when you talk about the artist child. The other thing I'm doing is I am offering the positive intelligence program is what I'm running. I run that. I'm currently running a group with on that, and that is really aimed at identifying these voices in your head, these coping mechanisms that you over time have built up and that are now screaming in your ear, and who stop you from listening to that much quieter creative brain sitting in the back. Because you I really, really believe that it is your creative brain you need to bring to the table, um, uh, which is often where my clients get stuck. And you can only do that if you have quietened those voices and are bringing that creative brain to the table. So those are some of my core offerings that help women access that creative brain, and that then help you on the way to getting clear on what you want in your career. And also then, that's where my left brain bit comes from. It comes in is, make a plan to make it happen.
Yes.
Because nothing happens if you don't take action in the end.
Yes. Yes, I think that's right. Then that's the thing with marrying the creativity is it's great having lots of ideas, but if you don't implement any of them, they're useless to you and everybody. So a couple of things I just want to touch on here. And the first thing is, I think as women, we've lost the ability to tap our intuition, because I think it's what I connect intuition with is it's almost a little bit of a mystical thing. Well, creativity is quite mystical. I mean, if we start to look at where do ideas really come from, who knows?
Yeah.
There's the lovely story that Elizabeth Gilbert shares in her book, Big Magic, where she talks about she had an idea for writing a book. She started writing the book and then didn't really finish it, and then went to an authors convention and spoke to someone who lived on the other side of the world, who she's never spoken to. She's never published anything about this book. She's never shared it. And this woman tells her she's writing the book Elizabeth Gilbert was writing. And her take on this was, if you don't take an idea and bring it into reality by taking action on it, the idea will escape and somebody else will. The idea will go find somebody who will bring it into reality for you, which I thought was this really wonderful, wonderful story to share. But I think we haven't allowed ourselves to rely on that intuition. I have conversations with people who will, and I've done it myself, who'll say, I knew in my heart or in my gut that this was a wrong decision to make, but I went ahead and did it anyway. So there's a big piece of how do you start to actually trust yourself enough to know when something is a good idea and when something isn't a good idea. And, to come back to the tools we talked about, it's a tool I share with clients of really helping them to get back into understanding and listening into the feeling of a yes and the feeling of a no. So you can, when you're thinking about doing something, you can ask yourself. And which is just so powerful to get back in touch with that. And the other thing with you talking about these voices, and I think that's so important, going through the Martha Beck coaching program that I did, and if anyone's read her book, Finding Your North Star, she talks about identifying your everybody.
Yeah.
We all have one, the voice of everybody. So you can ask a question of, why can't you do that? Well, because everybody says I can't. And who is everybody?
Exactly.
And it's unpacking who the hell this everybody is and shutting them up. Because often the everybody is somebody from when you were 5 who told you can't do something, and you're still letting a little 5-year-old part of you listen to the person who told them no. And I think this is where self-development work is that you and I do. It's so powerful to start to uncover that. And for anybody listening, if you're relating and going, oh, I've not thought of it like that before, who the hell is the everybody that you're listening to that's stopping you from taking the action to do the thing that you want to do?
Absolutely. And it's interesting because I know Martha Beck's work myself, and it's such a powerful thing, because when I went through my career change, there were 2 voices. One was my mum. And 2 was a colleague who I heard say in the back of my head, oh, not another coach. He never said it. But I thought that if I told him, he would say that. So, work that one out. But this is the thing, isn't it? We have these voices, we have these fears, and they translate into us not doing anything, us just staying stuck, instead of taking little steps forward and to really, shut it down, as you say.
Yeah, absolutely. Shut it up. It's so curious. And thank you for sharing that, because I'm sure people will relate, because often it's voices that nobody said anything to you. It's an assumption you've made that you think someone's going to judge you, whoever's in your everybody lineup, they're judging you. Meanwhile, I wonder if perhaps you'd have said something to him. He might have said, Tineke, that's brilliant. Well done. Can I support you with something? Yeah, but again, this is why we're all in jobs as coaches, and why, I'm sure you're doing your own inner work. it's why the inner work never stops, because there's
Absolutely.
always these things to keep going. Before I digress into an inner work track,
Yes.
before the creative bit is ping-ponging around,
Yeah.
could you share some examples of how you've worked with clients to help them really unlock their creative thinking and it's been life-changing for them? I'd love to hear about the success stories of the work you've done.
Yeah, so one client, I'll call her Kelly for now. She came to me, and she had already retired, but felt herself way too young to retire yet, and she, um, you know, she found as we went through the program, and well, she was actually the one who came up with the word love list. And she started slowly doing things she loved doing, because she didn't allow herself, when she was still working, she didn't allow herself to do these things because it was duty first, like that. And with our work, she started doing things she loved doing more and more. And what we found out as we went through the months was that not only was she creative, and not only did we peel away the layers of why she felt she had to be, she wasn't allowed to do all these things. We also found that she was what Barbara Scher would call a scanner, which is, a multi-passionate, someone who does all these things. And
Yeah.
and she was thriving. She made this whole sort of program of all the things she wanted to do every week, all
Mhm.
the things she wanted to do between now and the end of the year, and then a program of, oh, in 2 years' time I'm going to walk that path, or I'm going to do this, I'm going on this adventure. She went back to work to do some of the things, but only part time. All of these things happened, and it was brilliant to see how she was un flowering really as
Yeah.
a result. And another example was, I worked with a lady, let's call her Linda. She was, she wanted to really get clear about what she wanted in her work. That became clear quite quickly, but she was worried about her work-life balance as well. But what was really, really rewarding was when we went through the program, we looked at her strengths and at her values and all of these things that you do. And at one point, her imagination came back to her and she said, but I'm a creative.
Mm.
And I want to design stuff. And she now has a very long-term plan. Okay, she got herself the job that she wanted, which was great. But she also has this thing on the side where she wants to, uh, where she has a 10-year plan, I think it was, where she wants to build her design work up so that she can show the world. And that has been quite a golden thread, I think, of the people that I coach with. They all are these hidden creatives. I mean, I say everyone is creative, but they all want to do something creative, something for them, that if they can't do that in their job, that they have this creative outlet outside of their job. Or if they can merge the two, well, even better. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's some of the examples, I think, of what that can do for you.
Yeah, and I love what you share there. I think it's this magic kind of solution really that's right in front of all of us is start listening to what it is you want to be doing.
Mm,
It doesn't always have to morph into a career path necessarily, but I think fulfillment and purpose comes from having things in life that light you up, things that bring you joy. And for a lot of people, I think, want to make an impact and want to do something of value. And it's not always possible to do that in your job necessarily, but you can start to have a look at how could I do that outside of work? Could you go and volunteer? Could you go and teach? Could you go and help children learn to read somewhere?
mm,
Something that ticks that box that makes life meaningful for
Yeah.
you? Because I think that's the greatest source of unhappiness for people, is not having stuff, although that's what on the surface folks might think it is. It's not having a real reason for getting up in the morning. It's not feeling like you have a purpose. And that is such an important thing. And what I also hear in there is that in the process of uncovering things that bring them joy, it's building confidence for people. They start to feel better about themselves. They start to feel happier, and they're more likely to be able to step up for themselves, to go for a different career, to change a career, to, like you said with your client, building up something on the side that she's got a plan for, which is, by the sounds of things, going to take her into a full-time creative career in due course. And she's giving herself the time for that crossover. And I
Yeah.
think that's the other thing, is be gentle with yourself in this process. It isn't necessarily an overnight thing, and it's okay if it takes you some time.
Yes, and you've got that time. I mean, up until last year, I had a grandmother. She was 100 years old. And, if you think about that, you're only, what, halfway? Not even that. You've got plenty of time. We sometimes think that life finishes when you turn 50, but that's not how it is. If you're lucky enough to live through middle age and beyond, then you know it's all a gift. You can do these things. There is plenty of time to do the things, and there are things that you can do now, and there are things you can do this month, and there are things you can do this year, and there are things that you can plan for the years beyond, and that is so fulfilling. And yes, it takes action. It takes you taking action. And I mean, when people come to me, they say, like, flippantly, oh, of course I'm also not very confident. And I say, don't worry about that. Because I know that as we go through this process, you will take action, because they are built into the process for you to go out there, for you to go and talk to people, for you to do stuff, for you to experience things. So as you go through it, you will get more confident automatically.
Yes. Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's the thing, is confidence comes from taking action, but you have to be brave enough to take the action to get yourself started.
Mm.
So you've shared some amazing insights today. This has been really wonderful. I really like the idea of writing a love list, of writing out things that you really enjoy doing, or you used to enjoy doing but haven't done
Yeah.
and would like to do again. Make a list, folks. That's a really good start. Could you share one more tool, Tineke? So for somebody listening who's thinking, this is great, I'd love to tap my creativity a bit more, what's one other thing someone could do today to really start to unlock that?
Put 15 minutes aside every day and do something creative. Even if it is just a doodle on a piece of paper, just do something creative. Take a photograph. Go and lie on your stomach and take a photograph of a flower. Go and cook to something that is completely different from what you otherwise will do. Do something creative. Do something with your hands, and look at things a little bit creatively. That is what I would say, because I firmly believe that doing something creative will make you more creative. And even if it feels silly, I mean, I once suggested to one of my clients to do a silly mum dance. Just go, go and have a dance. Do something completely ridiculous. Um, and if you do it with the curtains closed if you have to, but the thing is, just for joy, just for you. You don't have to keep the drawings. It doesn't have to be the next Picasso. It doesn't, you don't have to keep it. No one needs to see, just for you.
Yeah, I think that's brilliant. And again, it gives you that 15 minutes of creative breathing room and space to allow the creativity to come in. So such wonderful advice. Thank you very much. You're offering listeners a free call to help them uncover what's holding them back with their creativity. Just talk a little bit about that. And I know you're also launching something in September. So just share a bit more about those two things for me.
Yeah. So what I am offering to people who are listening is a free, what I call a saboteur call. So basically, these inner voices in your head, sometimes, well, it is so helpful to think of them as not you, but instead as voices that, yes, have helped you get to where you are, and well done to them. But that won't, will potentially hold you back to get to where you want to be. So that's what we do in a saboteur call. We get up close and personal with them. We identify what they are, and we see how they create havoc in your life, how they create havoc with your performance, how they interfere with your relationships, how they make you stressed and unhappy, quite frankly. So that's what I do in that call. 45 minutes, you and me, just talking about that, and really exposing those inner voices, and what is stopping you. What that leads into, and I spoke about it briefly earlier, is a fairly new offering. I'm currently working with an amazing group of women in what I call the positive intelligence program, which is effectively a program that takes that saboteur knowledge forward and helps you with techniques and tools and knowledge to quieten them down and to really start listening to your inner voice, to your real self, to your wisdom and creativity, the quiet one in the back, in other words. And that is what I'm currently working on. And in September, I will launch the next group. So if anyone is interested in that, I would absolutely welcome them on my saboteur call, and then perhaps we'll see you in the group as well.
Amazing. I'm going to pop the link to book the saboteur call. I'll put the link to all of your bits and bobs in the show notes as well. Just share with the listeners where we can connect with you on your website and on socials.
Yes. So if you Google my name, Tineke Tammes, you will find me. But to make it simple, it is tineketammescoaching.com. And you can also find me on LinkedIn. I am occasionally on Facebook, but come and find me on LinkedIn, because that's where I live.
Perfect. I'll pop your links in the bottom there, then folks can go and connect up with you. Tineke, thank you again. This has been a really, really wonderful, lively conversation. I've really, really enjoyed talking to you today.
Me too, Emma. Thank you for inviting me.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you for joining us, folks, for this episode. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I will see you same time next week. Bye for now.